So I'm going to read a passage which does speak of the love of God for a man who probably didn't deserve it in the slightest. As mentioned last night in the lectionary at the moment, it's encouraging churches and believers to read also. One of the readings is from Genesis. It's the story of Jacob. So it's quite fascinating. We read a little bit last night in Compline, the one where Jacob slept and angels' wings brushed past him, as they do indeed today, in God's mercy. And so this is another episode which is quite unusual, and I have spoken on this a few times, and each time I come to it, I think, what is going on here? It's one of those. So I have wrestled with this the last few days, to be honest, and guess what the passage is? It's about Jacob wrestling with God. And so let me read it to you. So Genesis chapter 32. It'll be on the screen, but it's Genesis 32, verse 22. Thank you, Esther. So that night Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 maidservants, and his 11 sons. Wow. And crossed the ford of the Jabbok or Yabok. And after he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. And when the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob replied, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And the man asked him, "What's your name?" "Jacob," he answered. Then the man said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have overcome." And Jacob said, "Please tell me your name." But he replied, "Why do you ask my name?" But then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It's because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." And the sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. So that's quite what's going on there? One might think, and that'd be okay to think that. Because Jacob, as we know, he's one of the patriarchs. In other words, the founders of, biblical faith. He's God is the father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and this man. From that line, as the people of God were formed, and from that line the Messiah came, and from that line the redemption of the whole world, and from that line from him, the Messiah, born, incarnate, now glorified, and all creation will worship him and before his throne, all believers, all creation, in an amazing way. So from him came this amazing line of redemption and salvation. But, what an unlikely person. There's not a lot you could say that might redeem this guy. What a character. As you know, some of the stories of him. He was a twin with Esau, and even in the womb, he grabbed the heel of his brother. I want to come out first, let me. And he struggled even then. So Jacob means, the one who grabs the heel, the supplanter, the one kind of bit of deception in there going on. And then he had all these schemes, didn't he? Esau comes back hungry from the hunt, and Jacob's making this lovely pot of stew. And Esau wants some food, and Jacob said, "Well, only if you give me," he knows he's famished, "only if you give me your birthright." So Esau, just so hungry, "I'll have it." So, Esau wangled his way into the birthright of the oldest son. And then he famously, he wants the blessing from his father Isaac. Remember that one? And so they, together with his mother Rebecca, they concoct this scheme, and they put skins on him and to pretend he's Esau, who was a hairy man, and Isaac, who's blind, does not see that it's Jacob, and he wangles his way into a blessing, the firstborn blessing. And so he has to flee from that. Obviously, his brother's mad. And then God promises him, and that's the passage we looked at in the Compline last night, that the ladder of heaven was opened and angels descended, and God said, I'm going to bless you, going to give you land and descendants, going to be with you, going to look after you. Amazing. He's had this vision of God. His reaction, well, if you look after me, if you care for me, I'll give you a tenth. Right, so, after God saying, I'm going to give you everything, if you really do that, I'll give you a tenth. Okay, that's what he said. So that's wonderful. So off he goes, and he goes to his uncle Laban, and he falls in love with Rebecca. And he says to Laban, I'm going to work 7 years. He said, I'd like to marry Rebecca. Laban says, okay, work 7 years for me. After 7 years, they have the ceremony, must have been veils or whatever, and he wakes up, and so Rebecca's not his wife, but his sister, his older sister. Laban wanted to marry his older sister first, Leah. And so, he's starting to be deceived. He who was deceiving others, he's starting to be deceived. He works another 7 years, marries Rebecca as well. And then there's just squabbles between Laban and flocks, and Jacob's trying to get flocks, and Laban's trying to get flocks, and they make a deal, only the spotted sheep and the speckled sheep. And then, so the scheming of Jacob is, I'll put these branches, maybe kind of a potion thing in the water, maybe the sheep will come out a different color, different size, I'll get these sheep, and, just this thing. And then it says, okay, we need to flee. So he flees with Rebecca, and all his sons, and he's going to go back to Esau, his angry brother. So that's the journey we're on now. He's coming back to Esau with his angry brother, and he doesn't know what to do. So he works up a scheme. I don't know. We'll divide all my possessions. He's now quite rich and wealthy with lots of animals. We'll divide them into two. So if Esau comes and attacks one group, I'll at least have the other. So he does that. And then he thinks, no, what I'll do is I'll send gifts to Esau. I know Esau's coming with 400 armed men, he heard. So maybe I'll appease him. I'll send a gift of, maybe some cattle. So servants will go ahead and he'll have some gifts. And then behind them will be some with sheep. And behind them, he's just going to appease him. So all the time, he's just scheming and planning. And there's just conflict all around him in the family and whatever family he ends up in. So this is the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. This is one of the forefathers in the faith, one of the fathers in the faith. I mean, what a person. And yet, this is the incredible thing. God loves him. He met with him in a dream that we mentioned. He meets with him in this place. And he ends up with a blessing. He's on his own by the stream of Jabbok. And Jabbok means, they've got two meanings in the etymological, on the root of the word. One is empty oneself. And the other is the sound of water over pebbles. And I thought those two things are significant. He's having a meeting with God, later on in his life, by a place where a river that says, empty yourself. Stop struggling. Stop wrestling. Stop scheming. Stop trying to work it all out. I've blessed you. Before you were born, I gave a promise that you would be blessed. And through your life, I promised to look after you. You're going to be blessed. Stop scheming. Stop working it all out. Just rest in my love, is what the Lord is saying by this. Empty yourself of all this. Just desire to work it all out. And let the sound of water that runs over pebbles just wash over your soul. So that's what's kind of happening here. Will you come to the end of yourself, my dear man? And I love the Hebrew. You've got Jacob, which is Jacob. The word wrestle is Yebek, by the stream of Jabbok. The Hebrew literature, they love to make a play with words. So Jacob is Yebeking with God by Jabbok. Anyway, that tickled my fancy anyway. So through all the tortuous aspects of Jacob's life and the complexity and him scheming, the Lord is basically saying, would you let go? Just let go and let me bless you. I am going to do it. You're going to meet Esau. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know the future. But I am with you. Have I not said I will bless you? Sometimes wrestling is a good thing, isn't it? I think it is. Yes, it is, actually. I don't know if you... Well, no, I won't go there. The Bible does say wrestling sometimes is a good thing. You know, it's out of the trials and the griefs of life that something more precious than gold is brought to being in our hearts. Faith, our faith, which is more precious than gold, as a result often of the wrestles and the struggles of life. Isn't that true? And Romans 5, verse 3 and 5 says, even rejoice over your sufferings and your wrestlings, because they produce character and perseverance and hope. And then it says, but the love of God does not disappoint us, for he pours that into our hearts by his grace. There is a wrestle that is good. There is a battle, spiritual battle, that is good, because we exercise our muscles, don't we? We don't grow often when everything's going well. Often it's in the struggle. And God forges gold when it is especially tough, and especially when you're out the other end. It's like the pearl, the grit in the oyster shell that becomes the pearl. It needs the grit for that all to happen. So sometimes it is good to wrestle. Absolutely. But sometimes it's good to let go. Just to let it go and let God. And I believe that's what the Lord is saying to him in this moment. Yes, there's a time to wrestle with things, but now let go. Let the infinite, undeserved grace and generosity of God come to you, pour over you. And I believe that's what the Lord would be saying to us today. Let the undeserved, infinite, generous grace of God come to us, even when we don't expect it, and let him come and bless you. Because that's what the Lord wants to do, I believe, this morning. With Jacob, he had been blessed and he didn't see it. Yeah, he had been promised that the line of faith would go through him, and he still wanted to strive and get it. He left his family with just a staff. He had this tortuous, complex relationship with Laban, but he came out of it with sheep and 11 sons. He was blessed, and the Lord said, I'm going to protect you. Yeah, and when Laban came after him, angry, God gave Laban a dream and said, do not harm him. And Esau too, God protected him. God blessed him and provided for him, and he didn't see it. But the Lord, in his generosity and grace, wanted to come and came to him in this night again and said, I want to bless you. Because the Lord is here. The Lord is with you. And it's been great just to open our eyes maybe and hear the bird song, hear the glory of creation all around. And for eyes to be opened afresh. Yes, the Lord is here in his goodness. I mean, every blood corpuscle in our body is a gift from him. Every leaf, every singing bird. What does the Bible say? It says, all things are created by him and for him. He is before all things, and all things, in him, all things hold together. You know, we don't exist without him being around us. You know, this chair does not hold up unless he sustains it. You know, you and I, we're given breath every single day, every single moment. We've already had breath. We've already received oxygen. He's there with us. Ephesians 4 verse 6 says, there's only one God and Father of all, who is over all, through all, and in all. Now, that's not pantheism, but he's His DNA is in everything. There's nothing, nowhere we can hide from his presence. We need his Spirit to live and to continue, and he is all around us in our situations, and he loves us dearly. He just wants to bless us with the awareness of who he is, and he's with us, and he's not going anywhere. He is here. And we shortly, not too long ago, celebrated Christmas. And I believe that wasn't just a one-off event like some alien God coming and landing and doing a few things and disappearing, as it kind of somehow is presented. But it's almost like through he who has made everything, he who sustains everything. It's like almost like through the dust and the blood and the pain of actual childbirth, he was born from within it. It was like, he who was at the heart of the universe was born, and in the fragility and the vulnerability of a little baby. He's part of all the creation. He loves it. He hasn't gone anywhere. And he was born in it. And he still comes to us in fragility and self-giving. And he comes often, and he always comes with grace and with generosity. Isn't that an amazing thing? And so much of the time we don't see it, do we? There's a famous verse, he was in the world knew him not. Our eyes often are not open. My eyes are not opened enough to see him. And he comes, but he does come to bless. That's the end of this wrestle with God, to bless. Just to give life, fresh life. When Jesus blessed the bread, it multiplied because he is the creator of the universe, just breathing on the simple elements. When he blesses, there is forgiveness. When he blesses, there is presence. I am with you. I will never leave you or forsake you. In him, it says we are chosen. In him we are loved. In him we are redeemed. In him we are sons and daughters of the King. In him we are heirs, even co-heirs with Christ. And so in this wrestle, with dust being kicked up, the Lord wanted to bring him to a place of letting go. Just let me bless you. Come again with grace and with my generous desire to fill your life with good things. Can you just put the slide up on the screen, please, Esther? This is a portrayal of this angel and Jacob. I don't know if you've ever seen this one. It's stunning, shocking even, as good poetry and sculpture. Can you see that? Can you see? Okay. It's by a guy called Jacob. Good name. Epstein, not related to the man in the news. And this is in, I think, a museum in Manchester. It's 2.5 tons of alabaster. And, this is kind of the angel, obviously, on the left. And just powerful and majestic. And, how could you fight such a thing? God let himself be wrestled, maybe to get the wrestle out of Jacob. That's what happened. And it's like at the end of the night, what is Jacob? Just limp. I've wrestled all my life. I've even wrestled with you. I'm just going to go limp. So there he is in his nakedness and fragility and vulnerability, resting in the angel's powerful grip. Isn't that a wonderful thing? I believe that's what the Lord would invite you into today. I know many of you are going through so much wrestling, and there's time to wrestle. And it's good to wrestle, but there's a moment when the Lord says, just come, just rest in me, let it go, rest in my arms, because I want to bless you. I want to bless you even today. I want to come to you. I want to pour my love onto you. I will be with you.